What's up, guys? I want to talk to you today about the two most frequent questions I get, way more than anything else, and the fact that the answer to both of them is actually the same. So the number one question that I get all the time is, Tanner, how do I dress better on a budget? Now, I know that that's a pretty difficult question, especially when you're watching a channel like mine where basically all I'm ever really doing is showing higher end or custom things that I'm in the point in my own style journey that I'm actually investing in higher quality stuff. And so I know that a lot of you guys want to know how you can dress similarly without having to spend the amount of money that I do. Now, the second question that I get more often than anything not is, Tanner, my weight is at X and I want it to be at Y. How do I dress well when I'm in between? Now, some of you guys are putting on weight, some of you guys are dropping it, and a lot of you guys feel like it's a waste of money to really invest in quality clothing while you're in this transition phase of what your weight may be. And so I've spent a good amount of time thinking about this, and I've actually kind of gone back to my own style journey, and I want to draw from that to help you guys better understand the principle of how to build the ultimate wardrobe. Because just like we've talked about in other videos, one of the biggest mistakes that guys make is when they start dressing better, that means that they start dressing more boldly or more loudly, and that doesn't always translate into dressing better and dressing in a way that your clothing helps facilitate your ability to accomplish your other goals. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. Most of the time, when you are starting to dress better, you are better off focusing on a core group of items. Now, other style bloggers and YouTubers will talk about these. You can hear terms thrown around like the fundamentals or the essentials or others. I've written about this extensively in the past. I actually have a product that's geared specifically towards this. It's called the staples. And this is 30 different items that I feel like every man, irrespective of his archetype or his tribe or even his own personal taste, will look great and will have this be kind of the main foundation of what his good wardrobe should be. Now, some guys, especially you guys who are a little bit more minimalist, are great if you just stick with these staples, whereas other guys, myself included, want to be able to expand upon that. But by having that kind of core group of items, that's going to be your best bet as far as starting out. Now, I know you're probably thinking, okay, Tanner, that's not really super revolutionary. And I'm not claiming that it is. There's a reason why so many of us talk about the staples or the essentials or whatever anybody else calls it. And that's because the whole system works. But what I want to talk about a little bit deeper than that is when it comes to actually investing in it. And to do that, let me tell you about my own experience with Beckett and Rob. So I joined the team of Beckett and Rob back in 2013. And I had been doing Masculine Style for about 2 years before then. And it had started to grow to the point where I was getting offers to do things with other brands. I had made a suit with Indochino, which I really liked. I had been wearing a navy suit that I had picked up from H&M a few years ago. And in fact, those were my two kind of mainstays. So I had my gray Prince of Wales from Indochino and my navy from H&M. Now, I'm talking about this when it comes to suiting, but this really does apply to anything else that you want to factor in when it comes to the staples. So when I first came on with Beckett and Rob, it was obviously very much understood that I'm not going to be wearing other brands' suits while I'm in the shop, while I was running the Salt Lake store. And so the expectation was that I pick up a few suits while I was with the company. Now, in my own head, I did something that I see my own employees do all the time. I see clients do all the time, and you probably do this all the time too. You think, okay, well, I've already got a navy, I've already got a gray, and so now I want to expand out beyond that. Now, the problem with that is that as soon as you up the level of quality and you do it in something that is less versatile, for me, I went with the gray pinstripe and then I moved over to a brown double-breasted unstructured jacket in a finely worsted cloth with patch pockets. I mean, you want to talk about being way out there in the middle of left field and something that is not versatile. That's it. And then I moved from there into other really bold pieces. I mean, really bold pieces. And in my head, I was just thinking, well, yeah, I've got my staples covered. The problem is that the quality of this really kind of out there stuff was so much better than the quality of my staple stuff that I didn't want to wear my staples anymore. I really didn't. First of all, I couldn't for work, but second of all, even in other environments where I wasn't at work and I wasn't having to wear Beckett and Rob stuff, I didn't want to wear my lower quality stuff. And that's the same thing that I've gone through as I've picked up higher quality t-shirts or better jeans or better jackets or better sweaters or whatever other staple it is that you want to consider. What you do is you pick up these items and then you spend the most amount that you could personally justify. Now, if the most that you can personally justify on a t-shirt is $15, don't go buy one for $45 or for $100. You can figure out if you like solid t-shirts and if you like whites or grays or navies better by starting off on the cheaper end and then taking it to step 2 when you get more money. Same thing goes with your build. Let's say that you're trying to drop 45 pounds and you know that you're going to be able to do it, because I can't tell you how many times I have clients who come in and say, well, let's just fit this a little bit differently because I'm going to be dropping weight, and then they never actually do. So first of all, really be honest with yourself and try to assess how realistic these goals actually are. And then second of all, if you know that you're going to be able to accomplish that weight loss or weight gain goal, then you still want to start dressing better because you can immediately start reaping the benefits. But what you need to do is not invest a ton of money, but then still buy those staple items. You can go and you can buy cheap jeans, cheap t-shirts, cheap dress shoes, any of those other kind of fundamental items. You can buy those and still have them look good and not really worry about the fact that the durability isn't going to be the best or the quality isn't going to be the best, because hopefully within 6 months you're not going to be wearing those anyway, and at that point it's worth spending the money to actually invest in the quality stuff that you know you're going to be wearing much longer. And so after that is then when you take the second step, which is taking those same staples, buying them all over again. I know that sounds like that's crazy, but buying them all over again, but upping the quality level significantly. And this is why. If you start off by buying the staples and you buy the best you can afford, and then from there you think, sweet, I've got my bases covered, I am now only going to buy my really fun and kind of out there stuff, then you're not going to ever actually end up wearing your staples. And so the whole purpose of purchasing those ends up being wasted. Now, I know, again, from my own experience, and so I can sympathize with you guys, and at the same time, mentally, it's frustrating to think, okay, so Tanner, you're saying that I need to buy what I can afford in the staples at first, and then as soon as I can afford better, rather than getting excited about different things in my wardrobe, I have to buy those same things again? And yeah, absolutely, that's what I'm telling you to do, because you will get more wear out of buying those same items again in higher quality materials, higher quality construction, better fits. You'll get so much more out of that than if you expand beyond there into secondary and tertiary and way out there in the middle of nowhere items. And so, yes, it can feel like it sucks, especially as you see guys who you look up to on YouTube or Instagram who have really fun and really bold things that can invest in those things because they went through this journey of they bought their staple items and then they reinvested in those same items in higher quality. Maybe they did it like I did, where they kind of skipped and they spent all this money on things that they didn't need and then finally went back to it. I mean, look at this suit that I'm wearing right now. It's a gray 3-piece. This is something that absolutely, if you were into suits, you need to have in your wardrobe. I just made this 6 months ago. I should have made this as my very first or my very second suit. I just made it 6 months ago. And I'm kicking myself because of how much I can wear this now compared to how little I could wear my other things, because the versatility is just so much better. So learn from that. But yeah, you see other guys who buy these really big, bold, fun things and you think, well, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to wear really bright stuff, or I want to wear really aggressive stuff, or I want stuff that's going to be a statement maker, especially for you guys who fall into the rakish archetype. I know that it's really hard to just stick with kind of the boring old staples. But the fact of the matter is, you'll get more out of your clothing, you will derive more benefit from it, and then from there, it frees you up to be able to focus on those other things. And that's what I suggest the next step is you start to focus on, okay, I bought my staples in poor quality because that was the best that I could afford, or that was the best that I could justify based on what my build being what it was. Then I reinvested after I could afford better, or my body became what I wanted it to be. And then you start that same cycle over again, where you say, now I want to get into things that are a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more bold. I'm not necessarily sure that I want to do a whole style like this, because maybe for you, you really are into suiting, but you're not sure yet, and so you buy something that's kind of on the cheap, and then you experiment with it, and it's great. Maybe you're really into streetwear, and so you buy something that's a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more bold, and you buy it on the cheap. And then from there, you don't necessarily like streetwear, you like suiting more, and so you've learned that by investing a little bit into it, and then now you can really invest that money into the stuff that you know that you actually like to wear in bolder and brighter pieces. Because what I am not saying is that it's a waste of your money to drop $1,800 on a bright yellow jacket. It's not. Nor am I saying it's a waste of your money to spend $500 on a pair of resold Yeezys, because it's not necessarily. What I am saying is if you're just trying to figure your style out, or if you can't really afford, or you are in a position where your body isn't what you want it to be, so any of those three variables, then you're probably better off buying it cheap and then buying it again to be able to get it right. I'm really interested to hear what your experience has been. Have you done this before? Where you thought, sweet, I've got my bases covered, now I can move on to the next thing, and then you find yourself not wearing those simple fundamentals anymore? If you have, when did you finally get over it? Can't wait to hear what you guys think. As always, hope you guys enjoy the video. Leave me a thumbs up, and I will catch you on the next one.